Hello and welcome to Showtime Central. As always, we're your host, Affinity main Holly Wigmore on the Workshop Radio. As always, we'll be discussing all things art and entertainment, giving you the latest on the dance, theatre, film and TV industry news. And once again, we've got some brilliant segments for you today, especially with our interview with the wonderfully gifted Joe Selman-Lever, the creative mind behind a one-man stage production called Fanboy that's inspired by his own experiences with nerd culture. To delve into today's episode, myself and Affinity are going to discuss some of our favourite movies in today's Film of the Week.
Shall I go first to start this one off?
Yes, kick us off this week then.
Okay, so my film of the week stars Adam Sandler, Andy Samberg, Mel Brooks, David Spade, Selena Gomez and Kevin James.
Okay.
Any ideas what it is?
Not too sure. I'm a very big fan of Selena Gomez, as I mentioned Only Murders in the Building last week, but
yes,
that's not coming straight to mind for me.
So my film of the week this week is Hotel Transylvania.
Nice.
So a few days ago, I rewatched Hotel Transylvania 2 after chatting to my nan about some old sleepovers that we used to have
adorable.
with tons of film nights. And despite it seeming like a children's film, which it is, this is the type of film that just brought back childhood memories and pure happiness when rewatching it. Have you ever watched?
I have, yeah. I've seen all of them and I
insane.
love them. I will admit, I'm a sucker for the animation. But no, I absolutely love them. They're DreamWorks, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
I love their style of animation, just
so
how that brings childhood
those who
joy.
don't know, Hotel Transylvania is like an American animated media franchise. It's created by Todd Durham. It's produced by Sony.
Yeah, Sony Animations, yeah.
It consists of 4 feature films, 3 short films, and a Flash animated TV series, and several video games.
There's video games?
There is.
What?
I know. I researched into it, found there's video games. I looked. They were quite funny. There's some on Nintendo.
No, yes.
Yeah. I was like, I have to play that.
Oh my
You're
God.
like vampires just flying about. Love it. But Hotel Transylvania 2 was the film that I watched a few days ago. And for those who aren't familiar with the storyline, Dracula becomes anxious for his beloved half-human, half-vampire grandson, Dennis.
I love Dennis.
He was so cute.
He's adorable with his little puffy hair.
Honestly, so cute. And when he notices that he's not showing any signs of being a vampire, he goes on to doing adventures to try and force him to be someone he's not. And then by the end of it, he turns into a vampire in his own time, which is just a beautiful storyline. Currently, you're able to watch it on Netflix, which was such easy access for me to watch it. Sling TV, Orange, and Blue Netflix Basic with ads. Honestly, if you haven't watched Hotel Transylvania, it doesn't matter if you're a child, if you're an adult, it brings back the same happiness when you watch it. I love these films. The animations was insane. And I love the facial features. Have you seen the facial features, especially on Dracula, which is Adam Sandler doing it?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of the face casts and how they do it. It is
so
brilliant.
Good.
The way you're able to bring such emotions to an animated character, especially in recent years.
You sort of forget that you're watching an animation.
You do, yeah.
As weird as that sounds, it's just a normal. As if it's going
you get
on.
immersed into the narrative that's being told. When we going back to our first episode actually with Turning Red, I didn't really see that as an animated film in the sense, even though May turned into a giant panda, which is brilliant. I saw that more in a sense of it being about the 2000s nostalgia, and I really forgot that I was watching a cartoon.
Yeah.
So
you've watched all of them?
I have, yeah.
1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
I have not watched number 3.
You've not watched 3?
I've not. I've
on
watched
the cruise
1 and 2.
ship.
Yeah, so they go on holiday, don't they?
Yeah.
So that's on Netflix, and I want to watch that.
It's so good.
I'm going to use it as an excuse to watch it.
Yes,
just
do it.
So next week I'm going to say I've watched it. But yes, that is my film of the week this week.
Nice. And sticking with the slightly horror genre, but it's also good for a family audience, my film of the week is an 80s absolute classic and my favourite film of all time, Beetlejuice.
Such a good choice.
So this stars Michael Keaton as the titular ghost of the most, alongside Winona Ryder as Lydia Dietz in one of her first ever roles. This was after she got Heathers, but that's, again, one of my other favourite films, which I talked about a couple of weeks ago. And she stars alongside the brilliantly talented Catherine O'Hara as Delia Dietz and Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin as Barbara and Adam Maitland. Honestly, this is a movie that's one of Tim Burton's earliest pieces of work, bringing this classic auteur's gothic style to absolute life. It's a cult classic that will forever remain timeless in my honest opinion, especially those for us strange and unusual like Lydia. For those of you unfamiliar with this classic, the narrative follows newly deceased couple Adam and Barbara as they are unsuccessful in scaring away the Dietz family who have moved into their house after their untimely departure. Unable to scare themselves, they actually end up making friends with Lydia, who's the only member of the family able to physically see these undead entities, as they enlist the help of the bioexorcist Beetlejuice. And the way Michael Keaton brings like comedy to this role, being such like a grotesque creature that's like from the underworld, is absolutely comedic genius, which I absolutely love from Burton. Talking about streaming services, unfortunately Beetlejuice isn't available on any streaming platforms to stream freely, such as Netflix or Now TV. But if any of you haven't seen this absolute classic, I would highly recommend it. Despite having aspects of horror, this is truly one that falls more into the fantasy and comedy genres and is bound to become a family favourite. So have you seen this one?
So, admittedly, I haven't seen the film, but I have performed in it as a dance musical, and I absolutely adore the songs, the storyline, all of it.
Honestly.
But I feel like I really should actually watch the film.
I think you should, yeah. Like, the narrative proved itself to be so timeless that in 2018 it did become a musical, which I absolutely adore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it hasn't come to the UK yet, but fingers crossed it will come for a West End debut. But it played continuously at the Winter Garden Theatre on Broadway, and I absolutely loved it.
It's gone
Genuinely,
quite
it's so
popular on
good.
TikTok as
It's
well,
got
didn't
incredibly
it?
popular.
It trended the song, didn't
Yeah,
it?
Say My Name, which we'll play
Yeah.
in a little bit, went absolutely viral on TikTok. And
Yeah,
I know
it
friends
did.
that weren't even into like Broadway or West End singing it. A couple of musicals have done that recently. Like I know some of Heathers and Mean Girls, like
Yeah,
little
Heathers,
snippets,
definitely,
like the dang
100%.
dang diggity dang da dang from Heathers went absolutely viral. And I remember being at work and someone singing that, and I was like, "You like Heathers?" And she was like, "What's Heathers?" Like I think it's crazy. Like we were saying a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago with like Wednesday, how things from pieces of pop culture get picked up and then transferred into
Yeah.
TikTok, things that don't even really resonate with
I
original
don't really know
productions.
if I like that, though.
I don't know
Because
if I
then
like
it's not
that.
really
Yeah,
appreciating
in its
like, the
true
roots.
form. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that.
But yeah.
But yeah, I absolutely adore songs.
Honestly, and circling back to this musical, this was released with music and lyrics from Eddie Perfect, tunelessly harnessing the weird and wonderful aspects of the original production that retells this narrative for a whole new audience, bringing Burton's beloved narrative to a live audience. And as we were saying, up first on today's episode of Showtime Central is the TikTok infamous Say My Name from Beetlejuice the Musical.
You could use a buddy. Say my name!
God, I absolutely love how they've brought Beetlejuice to a brand new audience, and it is such a wonderful musical that I really, really hope comes to the West End so I'm able to see it live on stage. But up next we have our weekend watch list. So up first on my weekend watch list this week is one that you guys may not have heard of. So this one is Schmigadoon. So this one's available on Apple TV, with this comedy series transporting you back to 1940s in a parody of the musicals of the time. Following backpacking couple Melissa and Josh, played by Cecily Strong and Keegan-Michael Key, they get trapped in a magical town filled with singing and dancing townspeople and learn they can't leave without finding true love, which they'd thought they'd already found for one another. Joining the creative cast are some of Broadway's most beloved, including Dove Cameron, Kristen Chenoweth, Aaron Tveit, Ariana DeBose and Alan Cumming, making this a musical series that fans of the theatrical like myself will truly adore. With each of the 6 episodes only coming in around about the 30-minute mark, this makes this the perfect series for a weekend binge. There's currently only one season of this brilliantly musical parody, but fans won't have to wait long for this whimsical world to return, as Series 2 is dropping on the platform on April 5th, with episodes releasing weekly from there on out. Being renamed Schmicago, clearly a play on words of 1975 Chicago, this will open up a whole new era of musical theatre within the production. Expanding on this change of era, in an interview with Vanity Fair, Keegan-Michael Key expressed that, quote, "It's so completely different than those golden age musicals. I was really excited that we were moving into this era," end quote, proving this will clearly be one to keep in mind when Season 2 releases on our small screens very, very soon. And up next, I've recommended The Circle this week. So available on Netflix, this US reality series was first taken from an idea produced by Channel 4 in the UK, focusing on a light-hearted but strategic competition series where players are secluded to apartments and must talk to each other via digital screens called The Circle. Either choosing to be themselves or posing as catfish, they must network in order to come out on an anonymous popularity ratings whilst all working towards a cash prize. Usually on Showtime Central Weekend Watch List, we tend to recommend fictional programmes, as is the genre I find myself watching more, but The Circle is definitely one of my absolute favourite competition shows, and with 5 seasons currently streaming on Netflix, this is a perfect binge that you can get immersed in without having to pay too much attention to a completely fictional world. None of The Circle is scripted, and the only characters you'll see are the larger-than-life personalities of the individuals shining through, whether they're playing themselves or having hidden personas with being catfish. You're bound to find yourself rooting for individuals and connections that are made, sometimes even wishing you could vote in the live ratings yourself. And finally, on today's weekend watch list is one of my all-time favourite productions, which is Heartstopper. This one's also streaming on Netflix, and this coming-of-age narrative comes to screen, which is directly adapted from the original graphic novels by acclaimed author Alice Oseman. It follows 2 teens, Nick Nelson and Charlie Spring, who find themselves falling in love while trying to navigate through school and understanding what being part of the LGBT community as young males means to them, and their individual stories dealing with this. The show became an absolute breakout queer sensation upon its debut in 2022, with audiences spending a total of 53 million hours watching this adaptation upon its month of debut, as reported by GQ magazine. It's truly a heartwarming narrative that anyone can find a sense of resonance in, with the cast including brilliantly talented young actors, with Kit Connor and Joe Locke taking the helm as Nick and Charlie, joined by Yasmin Finney as Al Argent alongside William Gao as Tao Zhu and Jenny Waltzer as Tori Spring. Coming to the page to Netflix, these castings have been done brilliantly, coming from director Euros Lin. Again, this is a brilliant series that's incredibly easy to binge, with only 8 episodes currently on the service, but with a total of 4 books from Oseman alongside novella spin-offs. Of course, Series 2 is on the way, with this array of young creatives returning in their respective roles. When discussing the upcoming second series and reprising his role, Kit Connor told GQ magazine that, "We realise it means a lot to people, but that's an amazing pressure to have. It's all on our shoulders now." Heartstopper is honestly one of my absolute favourites. Finn, have you seen any of this weekend's watch list?
So I have watched Heartstopper when it came out. Unfortunately, I haven't actually seen the other 2, but after your recommendations, they seem like films I'd watch for sure. But Heartstopper, I did watch. It was so cute.
I love it so much.
So cute.
I'd always wanted to read the original books by Alice, but I did end up buying all of them.
Did you?
Yeah, absolutely all of them.
Have you read them all?
Not all of them, no, because being uni students, we're caught up in our work.
Yeah, that is very true.
But no, I absolutely love, like, some of that is, like, page for page to screen, and it is brilliant. Like, the scene where they're on the beach, that is such a gorgeous scene. And I'm very excited for season 2, because that'll be when they go to Paris. So it's all set abroad, and Nick and Charlie exploring their relationship a little bit further. But, oh my God, I'm very, very excited. But to play into Heartstopper a little bit more, our next song today is Why Am I Like This by Orla Gardlin, taken straight from Heartstopper. I truly love Heartstopper, and as expressed with Affinity, I cannot wait for season 2. But now we are on to our theatre segment of the week, so we know this is all my favourite bit. So this week I interviewed, as I expressed, the brilliant, talented Joe Selman-Lever about his one-man play entitled Fanboy, that's heavily inspired by his own experiences with adoration for everything pop and nerd culture. So following a successful run at 2022's Edinburgh Fringe, Fanboy is the newest piece of work from actor and playwright Joe Selman-Lever, with this wonderfully geeky 65 piece of theatre being inspired by his own life experiences as a fanboy, exploring complex but comedic relationships of past and future versions of himself in a fantastic, fascinating narrative structure that's full of life surprises. So I talked to Joe, and here's what he had to say about his production. Could you please begin by introducing yourself and explaining your role within the industry of the performing arts?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Hello. My name's Joe Selman-Lever. I run Worklight Theatre, and that used to be a devising company, and I suppose in some ways still is. But for the last 3 shows, I've it's just been me running it really, with kind of long-term collaborators kind of coming in and out of projects, and I make solo shows. So I guess I'm a writer performer for theatre. I make either autobiographical or kind of autofiction work, so either fully or partly based on kind of things that have happened, memories and that sort of stuff. That's mainly what I do in theatre. I sometimes work as an actor as well for either theatre companies or filmmakers. have written for other things that I'm not in as well for theatre. But then as well as that, I also work in TV and film a little bit. So I write for preschool animation,
Nice.
which is fun, and I also write for TV for young adults and for adults as well. But those are sort of earlier stages of development, those projects, because they often take a bit longer to get through.
Yeah, of course, that's such a great wide spectrum of things there. Just looking at the acting side, how did you get into this industry, and what does your title as a writer and an actor mean to you?
Yeah, so I did a drama degree at Exeter. I'm from the southwest actually, so was born in near Cheltenham and then grew up.
Nice. I've got family from Cheltenham.
Oh yeah, same. I'm from like a tiny village near there, but I sort of say Cheltenham because that's the way people know. But I'm from a much smaller and a much less glamorous part of the Cotswolds. And then, but I grew up in Devon. My family moved there when I was 8, so I know Devon pretty well. And then went to university in Exeter because I just loved the drama department there. I kind of liked the mix of theory and practice that they offered. That was my route in, really. That was my kind of route into learning about how to tell stories in that form. Tell stories kind of more generally as well. I think I learned a lot about storytelling process and structure and sort of like your hook into a story as a creator, like sort of what that first sort of bit of excitement about an idea that you have, like kind of learning how to sort of harness that and then shape it into something, because ideas come all the we get ideas all the time, but actually turning into something is much harder. So I think learning that was really valuable.
Yeah, so you'd say it was definitely the route to like devising and acting in theatre that helped you later develop stuff like Worklight and be like, oh, I've had experience within education writing this. I think I can make this feasible.
Yeah, I think what was definitely, like, I mean, like I said, it was a very practice-led course, and I think because we kind of wanted to just carry on making work straight out of university, we just sort of learned as we went, really. We sort of learned what like putting on a show involved, and then what building a tour involved, and then what like funding applications meant, and how through many failures eventually getting our first sort of Arts Council grant, and then like putting on an Edinburgh show and producing, just sort of learning how to produce kind of in amongst that by necessity, really. And just sort of picking it all up along the way, kind of because like, oh, this needs doing, someone needs to figure out how to do that, and we'll learn, kind of thing. So I suppose the creative processes definitely came from the training that we had and the kind of experience we had making work together, but then the more professional stuff I think came from just sort of like being thrown in at the deep end, or throwing ourselves in at the deep end and trying to figure it out as we went.
Some ways that's always the best way to go, honestly. And circling back to Edinburgh, what was it like to present Fanboy at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival and then take the show on tour? And just expanding on this, how was it coming back to your hometown of Devon and presenting in Plymouth?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I'd done quite a few fringes. I sort of did my first in 2012 and did quite a few up until 2017. Not every year, but like, so I'd done I think 4 or 5 in like sort of almost as many years, and then had a break from it because I was doing an acting job which kind of clashed with Edinburgh, and then it was the pandemic, and we were developing Fanboy initially in late 2019 and early 2020, and it was part of Pleasance's program for Edinburgh 2020, and like many projects, it had to be paused. So it was great to bring it to Edinburgh last year, because it was something, the project that meant a lot to me and to the people making it. Like, there's without spoiling it too much if anyone hasn't seen it, but like there's a young actor in the show that kind of appears via video projection, and that was the director's nephew, and so there was like kind of working with
I did
him.
wonder what the connection was there.
It was that was a lucky find, really, because Ethan, who well, actually I will just spoil it, but he plays young me, and for those who haven't seen the show, like that, basically I find a videotape which appears to be me on my 8th birthday, and then I sort of start rewinding and fast forwarding and talking back to my younger self, and then he talks back, so it's a bit of sort of magical realism. And we just got very lucky because Ethan looks like I did at that age, and he looks quite uncannily like I did at that age, and is also a brilliant actor, very natural, like not really even he has a lot of fun with it, but it's not like he's some starlet who just loves performing all the time, and he just happens to be very good at it, and but it's also like we had sort of bribe him almost when we were filming, because he was like more interested in like playing Nintendo with us or like playing football or whatever. So we'd have to sort of do little breaks between. We'd have to do sort of a certain number of takes and then be like, right, Ethan, we can run around now for 5 minutes, and whatever. Like, he was more interested in that really. So the process of working with him was really fun, and I think because obviously, like all kids, he was growing fast. We weren't sure if we'd get to finish the project when he was still the right age for the show and that kind of stuff. And in the end, it worked, because like what that meant was that we had footage of him at different ages. So we got to Yaz, who directed the show, got to like do some really clever video editing, and he kind of ages up through the show, which is, it actually works in our favor. But yeah, I don't know. It was, I think, just with like that kind of component of it, with the kind of like collaborating with people who kind of live in different places and whose lives had, like everyone, really changed, because of the pandemic. It felt really meaningful to me to just finish it, really, because I wasn't sure if we ever would. And it was, and I knew there was something in it. I knew we were onto a good thing, really, and it was in a good place when we had to pause. So I think it was just really satisfying to kind of come back, with a couple more years of experience, as artists, and hopefully like, bringing that to the table, and then being able to sort of hopefully make something better than we could have actually if we hadn't had that break. And then performing at Edinburgh was lovely. I mean, it was a difficult fringe for a lot of people. Like, ticket sales were famously down last year, which is, I think, to be expected, but it's always been a tough road for artists up there. Like it is expensive, and it's only gotten more so, unfortunately. So there are issues with the fringe which need resolving, but it was lovely to be back. It was great to take the show there, bringing it to the southwest. Like we did Exeter and a couple of Cornwall dates last sort of autumn, which was great. And Plymouth, I'd not been to the Drum again for about 5 or 6 years, and it was just really lovely to be to be back. It's such a beautiful space. It's been refurbished since I was last there, so that was really cool. Dylan, who designed Fanboy, got to that was the most well kitted out rig that he'd ever been able to work with for the show. So he got to kind of do some extra, a bit of relighting and stuff like that, kind of in the space, and do a design that was sort of was even better than what he'd already done. It was a great experience, really.
Amazing. And speaking with this little collaboration you have with Dylan, how do you think of the technical inclusion of stuff like the VHS tapes? Were these aspects that were hard to implement in terms of timing, or did it come naturally? Because some of the timings, especially with Ethan, are impeccable, and I was like, how on earth have you done that?
Thank you. Well, I'm glad. I mean, that's a mix of Ethan being great, Yaz doing some great editing and video design, Dylan essentially working as another performer, really. Like, I mean, he is a comedian and a magician as well as a designer, so his timing is really good. But he has 456 cues in that show. Wow. Most of the video, most of those are Ethan, and then like there's an older version of me as well. And so, but it's mostly Ethan, and so it's a mix of Ethan's performance, Yaz's editing, and Dylan's kind of operation, basically.
And just circling back to the autobiographical approach, what's it like playing yourself in Fanboy, and how did it feel to initially write a narrative that's so closely personal to you and your experience with fandom culture?
Yeah, I mean, the show started from a real place of joy, because me and Yaz, we'd made another show before this, and kind of were friends, but like mostly colleagues, and then became properly friends because we both realized we just were quite similar, really. We had loved Nintendo growing up, and that was really how we bonded with our brothers or with our siblings and our families, and we loved Marvel and Star Wars, and there were all these kind of things that we kind of bonded over. And I guess as we were talking about that, we were like, oh, it'd be great to make a show about this one day. And so the initial spark kind of came from a really kind of like joyful place of, this is all really fun, and like nostalgia's fun, isn't it? And then trying to think about, okay, well, what's the question of that? And I suppose it was in that early experience of like, I suppose I was interested in nostalgia and kind of why it was so prevalent a force in our entertainment, our politics, our media.
And just to tie everything up, I've got one final question for you today, Joe. Could you please provide some of your top tips for those wanting to embark into the performing arts industry, either as a writer or as an actor?
Yeah, for sure. I think the key thing is making work. That was the advice I was given. Well, there's 2 bits of advice. One is to find a group of people and make work that you enjoy making. And the other thing was that, the people that succeed aren't necessarily the best, are the ones that stick it out. So it's it's, there's persistence, you have to work hard and all of that. But I think kind of not losing heart, and the two things go together, because I think, and this is whether you're auditioning and you don't really like writing, but I guess the equivalent there would be sort of like, what classes or workshops can you go to? Keep that fire alive and keep kind of the creative part of you working. If you're like devising, then like, what's your next project? If you're writing, then kind of like what is the thing that you're working on outside the other things you might be doing for money? Because I think you've just got to keep feeding your inner artist, really, without sounding too pretentious.
So that was my little interview with Joe, and he was an absolutely brilliant performer who I was very lucky to see in his performance of Fanboy as part of my blogger scheme at the theatre, which I'm really enjoying. So just to sum it up before we move on to our act of the week, Fanboy follows Joe's relationship with nerdiness, with his adapting over the years to match his personas. In his teens he hid it, in his 20s he owned it. Now he's in his 30s, he's still absolutely obsessed with Star Wars, David Attenborough and the Muppets Christmas Carol, to which he makes countless references to throughout, a journey I know that many audience members resonated with, looking back across the years of niche interests. Playing himself, Joe Selman-Lever is absolutely phenomenal. The production traces his journey from his first ever midnight showing of The Phantom Menace to exploring the darker side of online nerd culture. Joe is truly a gifted actor who brings his real-life experiences to a self-aware piece of theatre that's forever breaking the fourth wall, which I absolutely loved. But that is our theatre section over for this week, and we're straight on to our actor of the week. Affinity, would you like to kick us off this week?
Yes, so my actor of the week this week is Jenna Ortega, which we
Nice.
spoke about last
Yes, we
week
did.
when I loved Wednesday and her dance. But for those of you who don't know, Jenna Ortega is an American actress. She began her career as a child actress, receiving recognition for her role as Young Jane in the CW comedy drama. Have you watched Young Jane?
No, I've not even heard
Love
that,
it.
honestly.
Really?
No.
Oh my god, absolutely love it. Her breakthrough role came in portraying Harley Diaz in the Disney Channel series Stuck in the Middle.
I know that one very well.
Which she won an Imogen Award. And then in March 2021, the high school drama film The Fallout was released, in which Ortega portrayed the lead role. And then in 2020, she was cast as Tara Carpenter in the slasher film Scream, which was my film of the week last week.
It was indeed.
And then in the Netflix comedy horror series Wednesday, she played the role of Wednesday Addams, which she called a new chapter in her career. I absolutely love Jenna Ortega.
I do too.
So
She is
much.
absolutely brilliant. And this might just be a rumour, but I've seen on a couple of places such as Facebook that she's potentially playing Lydia's daughter in the upcoming Beetlejuice sequel.
Yes.
That would be very interesting.
That would be
obviously,
so interesting.
Yeah, obviously with Tim Burton being such an auteur, he likes to work with certain people
Yes,
such as Johnny
yeah.
Depp and Helena Bonham Carter. But with Jenna being an up-and-coming actress, I feel like this is definitely going to be a collaboration
yes.
that will continue to
And
be
I feel like that would be
amazing.
like another breakthrough in her career again.
100%, yeah, because that's obviously such a classic that
Yeah.
people have waited literally
I
years
find
for.
her such an amazing actress.
She's brilliant.
Her characters in every like different film and series is so different to each other, but she just plays
She brings
them
such
so
a unique
well.
aesthetic to it as well, doesn't she?
100%. Like in the slasher, she's like this partier, like especially in Scream 6. She just was partying, always laughing, and then you have Wednesday where you don't see her smile at
No,
all. She
literally
doesn't
never.
even blink. It's just such different characters, but she plays them all so well. I
Honestly.
love her. What is your actor of the week?
So my actor of the week this week is Taron Egerton. So this Welsh actor is one of my absolute favourites, who gained mass recognition due to his role as Eggsy Unwin in 2014's Kingsman: The Secret Circle, later reprising this role within the 2017 sequel The Golden Circle. Apart from his work in the Kingsman franchise, Egerton has become a household name for his work on 2018's Robin Hood, Rocket Man, and even providing the voice for Johnny the Gorilla within both Sing movies. When taking a look into the monumentally brilliant Rocket Man, this became one of Egerton's biggest roles, taking the helm as Sir Elton John in a biographical fantasy drama based on his real-life experiences as an artist. When discussing this role, Egerton expressed in a 2019 interview with Entertainment Weekly that, quote, "I have never poured so much of myself into something. I've never felt so devoted to something. I can't tell you how weird it is to become so close to someone that you portray. It used to be that I'd turn up to his house and my heart would skip a beat before he came to the door because it's Elton John. But now I don't think my heart would even flutter. It's just become a very normal thing now, being part of Elton's life," end quote. In regards to Egerton's upcoming productions, he's set to star in an upcoming movie called Tetris, which follows the story of how the game was developed. He will star as video game designer Hank Rogers, with this motion picture being one that will be released on Apple TV later this month on March 31st. But he's just absolutely brilliant, especially in Kingsman. Have you seen either of the Kingsman films?
No, I have to admit,
I really
haven't.
think
and
you
if
should.
I'm being
I feel like you'd
completely
enjoy
honest,
them.
I've never heard of this actor.
Have you not?
I
Oh my god!
haven't.
Have you not seen the Sing films?
No, I
Really?
haven't.
I feel like you'd enjoy them. We're
Would
very
I?
much on an animation streak with you.
Yeah,
With
at the moment I
with
am.
Frozen
It's
last
like-
week and Hotel Transylvania this week. Yeah, honestly, if you're into like the spy, like action genre, 100% watch
I'm
Kingsman.
gonna have to give it a look.
They're really, really good. Yeah, the second one I do think's better than the first, but the way it like builds up his character joining the industry as a Kingsman, it's so good, and definitely
I'm
one
gonna have
for
to have a look.
definitely one for like thrillers and like spy movies.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
absolutely brilliant. But just circling back, because we all know how much I love a musical. Up now on Showtime Central, we've got Taron Egerton singing Benny and the Jets from Rocket Man.
Okay, so now up we have the dance segment, one of my favourites. To start with, the dance industry has been swarming with news and updates focusing on all things movement, from lyrical performances to business adjustments. Showtime Central brings to you the latest, everything you need to know about what is going on in the dance industry. JHM Project proudly presents the world premiere of AAPI Heroes, Myths and Legends, directed and choreographed by Jessica Chen, running March the 30th, which I am so excited about, at the Museum of Chinese in America. The evening will include new works inspired by two iconic Asian American figures who have significantly impacted American culture and society, Bruce Lee and Anna May Wong. The performances will pay tribute to the enduring influences of Bruce Lee's martial arts and the philosophy career of Anna May Wong, the first Chinese-American Hollywood movie star. Following the theme of performer collaboration, Dancer Che China Wife collaborates with Fugal to design dull indoor and outdoor use dance shoes. Like all Fugal styles, the Jade X Fugal features patented outsole technology, including pivot points to help with spins and turns, and a sole engineered for dance on any surface. And if you're a dancer like me, you know that is the best thing in the world. The dual pivot point on which the bottom of the Fugal sneakers will lift the dancer 2mm off the ground, which boosts spin ability whilst reducing friction and torque on a dancer's knees. All Fugal styles are engineered for indoor and outdoor use, specially made to perform great on a variety of dance surfaces, including hardwood, tile, carpet, concrete, gravel, marley dance floors, and even grass. And for those of you, again, who are my dance listeners, you'll agree that the idea of being able to practice performance techniques on any surface is the definition of happiness. The Jade X Fugal low top dance sneaker retails for $130, but is available in both men's and women's styles in full and half sizes, and available to purchase worldwide. In other news, White Wave Young Soom Kim Dance Company announces open auditions being held March the 30th and April the 4th, 2023 from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. White Wave Dance is auditions being held. I'm sorry. Formed in 1998, White Wave Dance strives to inspire audiences through multi-dimensional dance productions reflecting themes and philosophies, both modern and timeless. The mission is to be a potent stimulus for change and expansion of the dance and arts world through the production of dance concerts, classes, residencies, and education. And speaking of striving to inspire, I have recently found that the style of dance I do, freestyle disco dance, is not actually known in or outside the dance industry.
Really?
So I really wanted to chat about that for a minute.
Yeah.
And I thought, from a non-dancer's point of view, Holly, do you have any idea what freestyle disco dance is at all?
No.
Anything?
But thinking of like freestyle, I can imagine it's like leans more into the hip hop genre potentially.
It's funny you say that. A lot of
people.
people say that.
Yeah.
But no.
Really know, though. No. Please do explain for all our listeners who are.
It's
non-dancers.
absolutely insane to me, because I was brought up, I've trained freestyle for 15 years competitively, and when I hear that people are like, what is that? And even when I hear dancers say, what is that? It blows my mind. But freestyle disco dancing is dancing to music that is extremely fast. It's, like drum and bass.
Yeah.
It's drum and bass sped up.
Right.
So drum and bass is already fast, but speed up drum and bass.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
put another beat on the back, and it's just constant. Normally they take like popular pop songs, put it in as like a remix drum and bass, put songs on for like that, and they just start like, they just go off and you just dance to it. And it's insane to me that nobody actually knows this style of dance, but it's acro and gymnastics mixed with a bit of dance, flexibility and strength.
Nice.
You pretty much, in a non-dancer technical way of saying it, throw your body around.
I was
going to
say, like, for me, that instantly comes to mind, like, surely you can't learn that?
It's really weird. So you learn basics at the beginning, like you learn normal kicks, you learn like, you got to get like strength and flexibility. But after that, you just sort of grow into what sort of dancer you are in freestyle. Normally you are either a flexible dancer, a strength dancer, or like you can't really get all of it. And the people that do are normally the best of freestyle dancing. But the only way I can explain it is you literally just throw your body around everywhere, and you get like a dance floor, so it's not a stage, it's like a massive floor, and you dance in a circle, which is really weird, I know, but you go around in a circle, and there's like judges either side. Of like, you have about 6 or 7 judges, and they're spread around the floor in a circle, and you dance to each judge, and then you travel like in between to each judge, and it's super fast. And then at each judge you do like an account of 8 of like dance performances,
so it's sort of like you're performing to just one of them but also being judged as a whole.
It's really weird, because to me, I find it such a normal dance style, and I speak about it to people and they are like, what is that? It's just insane to me. But then it also, so that's called, I know it sounds really weird and really basic, but that style is just called solos. Because you do it on your own.
I've heard you talk about that.
And then you have something called doubles. Again, it's such a simple name, which is the exact same type of dance, but you do it with someone, which is a lot harder because you've got to
match each other's rhythm as well, I can imagine.
Super fast. And then obviously you can't like train and like get ready to know where the judges are, and because you've got to dance to each judge, you've got to make sure you're watching each other to know that you stop and dance at the same time, which to me is just completely, like, it was so hard to wrap my head around the first few years.
I can imagine,
but it's such a fun thing. And then again, it's called slow. Really simple term, don't know why, but that's like do you know what contemporary is? So it's like you dance around the room, but it's really slow. And then like
more traditional styling.
Like you said, street and hip hop, which is that sort of dancing, which is really fun to do. And then you have rock and roll. About from like a non-dance point of view, do you have any ideas about rock and roll, what sort of dancing that is?
Rock and roll, that just brings to mind for me like iconically imagery, like Elvis Presley, like sort of that vibe of like jailhouse rock. Like I can imagine like with you being in like a bigger arena, like not like the stage you said, but dancing with couples, and like kind of like if you've got like a longer skirt on, I can imagine you like kind of like twirling and twisting with that.
100%, that's exactly what it is. And I absolutely adore this, because normally costumes for freestyle dancing for like solos, doubles and slow, it is out of this world. Like some are leotards, some are, but it is sparkly, it is extra is best, so you just got to look extra all the time. But whereas
giving that strictly realness.
Exactly like that. But whereas like rock and roll, you like wear these like lovely long dresses and skirts that are puffy, and like it's just so,
I can imagine like checkered or like dotted patterns. Polka dots.
Polka dot all the time. Absolutely gorgeous. But from a non-dancer perspective, you've never heard of this at all in the slightest, and it's crazy to me, because if I was to say ballet to you, you'd know what it is straight away. And I just think it needs so much, like much more awareness.
Of course, because if you've trained all this time for it, then it definitely needs to be. People need to be more aware of it. But then
I actually did some research into this, because it literally blew my mind how nobody knew what it was. And it is actually the 3rd most popular dance style in the world.
Really?
So ballet's number 1, Latin and ballroom is number 2, but freestyle disco is the 3rd most popular. And I don't understand why, when people just don't really
when it's
know
not
what
really
it's
taught about. Because obviously like the other two you're taught about really widely, like from a non-dance perspective, but just hearing you talk about it, it's, you can tell you're so passionate about it with all your training.
Yeah, I know. But competitions as well is really weird, because normally, like, what do you like get in mind when you think dance competitions? How do you think that looks?
I don't know. Like, you've explained it in regards to like the judges being in a circle, which I never imagined. Obviously, with me, I just go Strictly Come Dancing. Like, you've got like a panel of judges, and like I know you
dance
can,
mums just on the big stage.
I know you can dance solo, obviously, and I know you do, but in my brain it's always just like partners, like doing the traditional like samba or this or that. Like I can just imagine like what you see on television like, from a non-dancer perspective, because obviously I do really enjoy Strictly, and going back to like our Strictly Ballroom, I feel like this is you like not breaking the boundaries per se, but doing something that's of a less traditional style that you absolutely adore, and just have that freedom of creativity to move your body, like you said. And I think that's really inspiring.
I'm feeling it now. Like as I'm getting older, my back is hurting more, and I'm thinking, this is what adulting is like now, because this hurts. But yeah, it's really weird. Normally you get one at a time dancing, especially in things like ballet.
Yes.
But you go in your category and you have about 10 or 11 dancers on at the same time.
Yeah.
And if you think about how fast that music is, you're all going around the floor,
I'd find it hard not to bump into each other.
it happens all the time. I remember one time I accidentally kicked a girl's tooth
God.
out. I know.
Oh my God.
At the end, I went over to her dance school. I went to her and I was like, I am so sorry. But her mum was just like, it's okay, it happens. It's just it's a violent dance. It's okay. I'm like, oh my God,
I can't believe that's normal.
It is. It's known as normal. It's really weird. And then you have like rounds and you get knocked out each round.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's insane. Next up, I was going to do a song that I wanted to relate back to solos, but I thought it probably hurt. As a dancer, I can say this, not being offended, probably hurt everyone's brains to listen to the sort of music I dance to, like the really fast drum and bass.
Yes.
So I thought up next I'd do a bit of rock and roll, bit of pop with the twist, Chubby Checker. Very old school song, but absolutely fun to dance to. I absolutely love that song. I hear that song and I want to stand up and I just want to dance. Are you the same? Did you hear that song and just say, I just want to dance?
Kind of, yeah. Like, I'm not one to tend to dance, but like that really encaptured my vision of like the dance hall and you like swaying your skirts around. Like
that
definitely
one, that isn't like freestyle disco per se.
No,
it's more of like
more rock and roll.
In a competitions, they just love to add it in. It's a bit of fun for everyone.
Yeah.
It's even, they call it Big and Small, which is a really weird name, but you get like an older dancer and you partner them up with like a really like a lot younger dancer.
Nice.
And then you do this rock and roll and you've got like big and young, and it's such a cute little
I can imagine how it like adds the dynamic of it as
it
well, because
does.
like
It makes
the
it so
rock and roll is probably
cute.
like a song of their time
That
if they're
used to
like
be
typically a
growing
lot
up.
older.
Yeah, 100%. It used to be my most favourite dance
Aw.
growing up. I'd like, because I'd look up to the older dancers and they'd part me up with them.
Yeah, of
It was
course.
so fun. But yeah, this song, I genuinely think this song was designed to make anyone, dancer or not dancer,
Yeah.
just dance, to jump up out of their seats.
It's quite a joyful one as well,
It is
even though
such a
it's like
classic
from
pop.
such an old generation. Yeah.
Have you ever heard of it before?
I've heard of the twist, but I had no idea that it was by Chubby Checker. Like, I've never heard of them.
But absolutely love it. But yeah, as I said, I just hope there's more awareness of freestyle dancing out there.
Yeah.
And it's just insane to me that it's not known. But then it might just be because I was brought up knowing it, so it's normal to me.
Yeah, I
Not
agree.
too
Like, because
sure.
you've trained for such a long period of your life and you're still doing
Yeah.
competitions to this date. Like, I think you said you've got one this weekend.
Yeah, I do have one this
very good luck
weekend in
with that,
Western
but-
Supermare.
Amazing. It's great that you get like that dynamic to travel as
so
well. Like,
fun. Yeah. I think that just adds to the competition, like excitement.
yeah, it adds to the excitement. And,
Yeah.
like nervous.
Not getting up early. That
No,
is horrendous.
of course not. Like, I think that really adds to like the nervous, excited jitters
It
about it,
does.
and just like
It makes it
I can
so
imagine like
exciting.
listening to like a playlist of stuff like that on your way.
Yeah, I do.
Really helps
if
you
I'm not
get into-
asleep because
Of
I get up
course.
so early. I just
Yeah, it
sleep.
really helps you get into the vibe.
But yes.
But yeah, that is unfortunately all we've got time for today on today's episode of Showtime Central. But don't you worry, we'll be back next week, same time, same place on the Workshop Radio from 12 till 1. Next week, we're going to lean in towards more of Finn's dance segments, because I really feel like the dance industry is something that needs a lot more of recognition. And we don't have an interview scheduled from my theatre perspective this next week, but I will be doing a little mini interview of The Mousetrap, which is the world's longest ever running play, which I luckily got to see at the Theatre Royal Plymouth just on Monday. So I'll be giving a little insight to this without giving too much away. But yes, we'll be back from 12 to 1 on the Workshop next week. But that's all from us for today.